Hi, my name's Alex. I'm just going to be sharing with you my experience on applying for the acting school that's in Melbourne, Australia, called 16th Street. I didn't get into the school after auditioning, but I learned a lot from the process and thought I'd share that with you as well. So basically, a friend and I, we applied for the acting school for the audition. It was pretty late. I think you could sign up to sort of like a month in advance, but we only signed up a week in advance. So you had to find a piece of dialogue that was, I think, about 1 to 3 minutes long from a film. So I chose the one, the "What do you want" scene from The Notebook. And I spent basically like 2 days I kind of allocated to finding a dialogue. And because we had such little time to actually you had to fully learn it and be confident on it, be open to acting it different ways, that kind of thing. So I chose that one, which I was quite happy with. I really actually struggled with choosing one because, I wanted it to be the perfect piece that would just blow them away. But I realized as well that there is no perfect piece. I just had to make a choice and then commit to it, learn it fully, that kind of thing. So I'm from Brisbane, and so was my friend, and we had to fly down to Melbourne for the audition. And but even before that, so I found my piece that I was going to learn. And what I did was to actually learn it was I had written down all of the words for it, which helped me just get a base idea of all of it, together. So if I heard part of it, I'd be like, oh yeah, that's familiar. I remember that from the dialogue. And then one of the other things I did in the beginning of learning it was I used just voice memo on the iPhone, and I record both pieces of dialogue. So just as if I'm reading the whole thing, and I try not to act out what it is. I'm basically just reading it so that I can kind of start with a blank slate, but also remember the words. And then after doing that, I also recorded a version of just the other person's dialogue. It's for example, it starts out with interesting morning. And then they say, yeah, Lon's here in town. But so I would just record their part and leave space for my part. And that way, when I'm listening back to it, I can say my part and listen to theirs as if it's actually a dialogue, which I found really helpful. But again, I had to do it in a way that wasn't, I didn't put too much acting into it. It was quite sort of blank. That way, I didn't learn it a certain way so that if I heard it a different way, it wouldn't kind of freak me out. Because the other thing with the audition is that you have a scene partner. So it's a bit different to other acting schools where it's usually you do a monologue or 2 monologues. This one was just one scene from a film in a dialogue, so a 2-piece, which means that you get a scene partner for the audition. So after doing that and learning as much as I could, I got, once I'd sort of gotten a base memorization of the dialogue, I met up with some friends, just one-on-one, that I could practice speaking it out with. Because it's one thing to sort of say it to yourself, but it's another thing when you've got your friend or someone in front of you and you're acting to them, or even just saying the lines exactly how they're written, not really acting. It's still kind of freaky going from listening to it and talking with yourself to actually, doing it with a real person. And it's scary as well because when you're starting out like I am, it's just a very new experience. It's almost intimate being with someone else, and it's quite vulnerable doing it with them. But I had some friends that I knew pretty well, and then a friend who I wasn't best friends with, which also helped because then I almost have to be a little bit more serious about it and do it a different way to how I was doing it with my other friend. But I found that really useful. I ran it through 20 times with one of my friends till he had enough of it and then did it with another friend. Just so I wanted to get sick of it, basically. I wanted to know it so well that I was sick of this piece, which I was almost sick of it by the time it came to the audition. But that was really helpful in just learning it, and that really worked for me, the verbalizing it. I'd say that was, if I had to choose one way, I'd do that rather than just writing it down. I didn't find that super useful, but it was just like a good way to start, basically. So I flew down to Melbourne with my friend because we were both applying and auditioning. And then it was just easier that way as well, because then we could share like a hotel and the costs for that. But even just up until that point, it was really useful in just being able to throw myself into this acting world. And despite not getting in, like, that itself was just a really valuable experience, and would recommend it for sure, even if you decide not to go into the school at the end anyway. So it was the day of the audition. We got there nice and early. We were still like running our lines separately. And then when we got there, before we went in, I was like, I need to say it one more time, because I feel like when we go in, by some like chance, they're going to be ready and I'm going to like go straight in or something. And I still didn't feel quite prepared for it. So we did that just outside and went in. And then, funnily enough, they were kind of ready for us. And my scene partner was already in there, and she was super lovely and really, really wanting me to do well, which helped. And everyone there was like super friendly, which just made me feel a bit more comfortable. And yeah, straight away she was like, so like, what scene are you doing? Let's run through it, which I didn't expect either, to be able to run through it beforehand, which was good. And I'm sure it wouldn't have mattered too much in the audition if I'd gone straight in like that. But it made me realize that I would practice a different way as well, because I don't know why, but I expected her just to read the lines and not actually act it out. So I thought it was going to be like, I would do my acting and then she'd be like, yeah, she'd be like, yeah, Lon's here in town, and not really emote any of it. But the first time we ran it through, I was like, oh, interesting morning. And then she was like, yeah, Lon's here in town. And holy shit, did that throw me off so much. Just because I hadn't really practiced any pauses or anything. I thought I would kind of be able to control the pace, but because, you know, they're acting it with you, they also can do it however they want. And then you have to kind of fit in with that to make it seem as real as possible. So that was really helpful in realizing that, holy shit, she's actually going to act it out with me. And this isn't just me auditioning solely with my acting. It was her helping me and kind of like workshopping it with me as well. So anyway, we ran through it a couple of times and I was feeling quite confident with the words now. I didn't have to look at anything. And then we went into the audition and I met the guy who would be casting for the school. And it's a year-long program, which I prefer over the idea of like 3 years. So I was definitely open to going to the school if they had accepted me. But I just knew it'd be a valuable experience applying either way, if I got in or didn't get in. And then so went into the audition room. The guy was super friendly and just kind of like breaking the ice a bit. And then he sat down and was like, all right, let's give it a go and do a run through. And because it is more of a workshop, less than a pure audition, like a lot of other acting schools would be, it did have a more comfortable workshop director kind of vibe. So he just like said to run it through just plainly, don't go overboard or anything, and then we'll work from there. So I did just a nice, like simple kind of normal run through, and the girl as well was doing just like fairly simple scene work. And then he sort of said to me, all right, now I want you to look her in the eyes, and then just basically like gave me different ways to run it through. One of them was when I hear the guy's name, the fiance's name for the scene to like kind of get really mad, but also intensely. So it was just a good experience being directed like that. And so one of them was I hear it, and then he was saying, "Oh, just stand up when I hear the fiance's name." And then your sort of mind starts working, and, well, how can I do this in a more interesting way? And one of the things I did was when I heard the name, I would stand up and I just like threw the chair across the room, which feels great. And, and he's like, "Oh, yeah, this is great." And same with the girl afterwards. She was like, "Oh my God, that was so good. Well done." And which was great as well to have that encouragement. I've heard that a lot of auditions can be kind of like clinical, quite stressful, but honestly, I just had the best time auditioning and learnt so much. And then I did feel at the time like I had a good chance of getting in, but either way, I wasn't too stressed about it because I'm from Brisbane, and if I did get in, I would have to, move to Melbourne within like a month and leave my job, and it would have been quite stressful. So it was kind of like bittersweet that I didn't get in. And I'm not a huge fan of the idea of having to go to acting school. That's why I did like that it was 1 year, because then, I'm not giving up a chunk of my sort of youth to do acting in a school. I'd rather learn acting on the job if I can. And that's still my goal at the moment. But yeah, I got a call like a week later, and they said, "We loved you, thought you were super friendly, approachable, but unfortunately you didn't have enough experience for us to get you into the school." And I don't have a lot of experience. I've done mainly like extra work and short films. And either way, even if I had done more, already been in some things, I think like it depends who else is applying to. Other people could have done way more, been in like, I don't know, Netflix or something. So I wasn't too concerned about that. And I wasn't that bummed when they said I couldn't get in, because I just felt like I'd taken this first step into like the acting world and had sort of seen behind the curtain a bit of like what's out there, and just the experience of being directed and learning lines. Like, that it was just such a valuable experience. The learning lines, figuring out what the best way to learn lines for me was, and even getting with friends and running scenes with them, something I wouldn't normally do day to day. So it's just great to keep like acting and sort of stretch the acting muscle and try it out. So I've thought about applying for other schools as well and just doing the same thing, essentially, just for experience. And so basically it wasn't super bummed. Obviously I was hoping to get in originally, but yeah, I just learnt so much. And it was just a great experience applying for the school. And would totally do it again. But that's my experience basically. So if you like it, give me a like or subscribe. Let me know if you'd like to see more down in the comments, or if you have any specific questions about the school or about anything else. I'm going to start uploading regularly. So yeah, I'll see you in the next video, basically. Thanks.